Oh boy, do I have a good one for you today. Sit down, buckle up, and prepare for controversy. Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. So it's 3:30 in the morning, and I just wanted to play Skyrim. I just wanted to play video games, relax, wind down, kill dragons. That's how I wind down. I don't know about you, but... And this issue came up. So I'm not going to get into the details, names, or anything else. I'm going to use vague things to explain what brought this topic up, but we're going to talk about editors today. So I want to preface this video by saying I love editors. I love the ones that I know. I am an editor as well as an author, and I edit full time. I have an editor right now that I use for my books, and the reason why I'm an editor, who needs an editor? One, all editors still need editors. Like, we're not perfect, and usually, like in my case, I'm too close to the story. I'm pretty decent at editing my own grammar mistakes and sentence structure, but sometimes I've read the book so many times, my eyes just skip over things. But specifically developmental story stuff, I cannot see what I need to change or how to fix it, and that's where I need an editor. So I'm an author and editor. I love my editor, who is H.A. Pruitt. I know of other editors that I've worked with and talked to in the past, one of them being Laura, who also helped edit my book Immortal as well in the past. So I want to preface this by saying I love and appreciate editors and everybody who helps bring a book to publication, whether it's just the author and you do everything yourself, whether that's the editors, the cover designers, marketing, like anybody who works on a book. I love you guys and I appreciate all of you. So that's my premise. Let's get into this. So basically I was on Facebook. I knew better. I haven't gotten on Facebook in years, and the one time I do, I just see a post and this stuff comes up. So I need to stay off Facebook. Too much drama. But basically the general concept of this post was there's an author who was complaining about the high price of editing, and this particular author was talking about $2,000 for a certain half or a portion of his book, whatever, and everybody in the comments was just roasting him and being really rude. And at some point I was scrolling through and I just could not resist and keep my mouth shut. So I've been on a Facebook comment fight, which I haven't gotten into in years. I'm getting better, but I lost my cool. And I can't just not talk about this anymore because I'm an author and I'm an editor, so I see both sides, and I love and appreciate my editor, H.A. Pruitt, so much that I feel really weird because I see both sides, but I have very strong opinions on both sides. So on the one hand, I am so aggravated at really expensive editors because I feel like there's no reason why you should charge multi-thousands of dollars for editing a book. Yes, it's a lot of work. Yes, we pour our hearts into it, but it's not necessary. And to me, it's like it's all about the money at that point for those who do. And I'm talking high end, like $3,000-$4,000 for a book, sometimes more. In some of the comments, people were telling him that was cheap and that they spent like $20,000 on a 90K book. Like, it was ridiculous, some of the comments that I read. So obviously it was brought to my attention that most of people do this full time, and you can't make run a household and pay bills with that. So blah, blah, blah. And one person accused me of being privileged. And it just got really weird. And so a lot of the commenters were like judging the poster and me, and like, it just weird judgments and, assumptions. That's the word I was looking for. And it's like, it seems to me that the attitude is not to care about authors who can't afford this kind of stuff. When I first started out, I couldn't afford an editor, a cover designer. Like, I started out traditionally published, but when I bought the rights back, that was a lot of money to buy the rights back. Me and my husband barely scraped it and got it together. We did, but then I was out and I could not afford to hire a cover designer, an editor, nothing. And so I had to learn and do it all myself. And that's what I did. And I made a lot of mistakes, and now I know better. And I started editing originally because I'd been a writing competition judge and host for 4 years. So I knew how to edit. I knew how to judge people's writing. I'd been critiquing it and judging it for years. I've mentored lots of young writers who eventually grew into becoming published authors. And I've guided writers and helped them and taught them and learned. And I've learned and grown myself. And so I needed extra money because, I couldn't afford to put anything into my author. Like, my books were just suffering. And so that's when I started editing professionally, and the editing money usually went back into my books. Now, sometimes we've had to use it and I've helped with bills. So yes. And So, but I still only charged $1 per page at the time. This year I've raised my price to $2 per page because I can't afford crap. Okay. Nobody can afford anything at these days. So I charge $2 per page, and I was told that, well, in order to charge that, not that much, you're obviously coming from a place of privilege. No, I've had to use my editing money to pay bills and stuff, and it can and does pay the bills sometimes. Most of the time I put it back into my books, and yes, I am blessed to have a husband, but even then, he doesn't make much money. We barely scrape by. We're doing fine. We're doing okay, but I hate it when people bring up, quote, privilege, because you're typing that or saying that online via a phone or a computer with internet service. Honey, that's not privilege, okay? Unprivileged is living in Africa with nothing, is not having a house over your head, a roof over your head, not having food, not having clean water, not having easy access to clean water where you have to walk a mile in dangerous territory just to get water every day. It's not having internet service, so you have to go places that have access to internet service. It's not having access to a cell phone. Anybody who lives in America today, unless they're homeless or really not just homeless, but I forget the word, it's really late, but in the lower poor sections of America, most people who live in America are automatically more privileged than everybody else in the world, especially in every other third world country, because you're simply living in America. That itself is privilege. So the word privilege doesn't even, let's not use that word, please. Please, can we not use that word? Second of all, not all editors are doing that full time. So to assume that even the high-end editors are doing that full time to pay their bills is a wrong assumption. Now, there may be editors who charge a lot of money to make the bills because they're the breadwinner and they have to provide for their family. I get that. I'm not saying they don't exist. But there are other editors who do that because it's a part-time job, or because they love it, because they're passionate about it, because they're trying to make money, but they already have money. They just enjoy making money. And editing is a good way to make a lot of money. I could raise my prices if I wanted to and probably make more money than I do, but I don't because I want to be affordable. I've been told by lots of my friends, you need to raise your prices. You need to raise your prices. You're really good. All that stuff. I'm not going to. I refuse to. $3 per page is my limit. And even then I'm stuck at $2 per page because I just can't bring myself to. It feels wrong. I feel icky doing it. No. The sheer lack of care for authors who literally can't afford to hire services for their books and have no other choice really, really irritates me. So what does that do? That forces us to turn to other means to get our books edited. AI, for example. There are programs like Grammarly and ProWriting Aid and AutoCrit that will help you edit your books. They are not perfect, just like the Microsoft Word, that program that's automatically in there. That's not perfect either, but it's better than nothing if you cannot afford anything else. And let me say this by also saying the other side of it. I do not like the idea of authors turning to those programs over an actual human being who will be there to walk with you through the process in a way that those programs cannot be, who will catch things that those programs cannot. And those programs are also taking away jobs from people like me and my editor, Heather, and other editors who need the money because this is our means of income. I do not like that. But, however, what if they have no other choice? What if they don't have $400 to throw to me to edit a book? What do they do then? And that's just $400. Who has $2,000 to $3,000 lying around that they can just give it to an editor to edit their book? The average person does not have that money lying around. And if they do, that has to go towards something else. Food, water, gas, name it, bills, rent, electricity, internet, cell phone, whatever, priorities in life, okay? They don't just have that kind of money lying around, and the average person doesn't have that, much less the average author. We authors, even if you charge $4 to $5 per book, you're only getting a certain percentage of that, and you're only selling so many. Like one of my books, a lot of my books are 99 cents. I get 33 cents out of it. So if I sell 2 books, that's wonderful. I have 66 cents to my name. And do you know how long it would take me to save up enough money only doing that, only selling books? Like, I would have to sell, I don't know, do the math. You guys can do the math. I would have to sell so much money to save up enough money to hire a high-end editor that's charging like $2,000 just for the first 50,000 words. And then guess what? They're only doing one type of editing. So that would only be the developmental edits. They would ignore everything else. Or that would be just the grammar and sentence structure and nothing else. Or that would be just the vocabulary usage, and they would not focus on the dialogue or the action tags. Like, there's so many different aspects. So I charge $2 per page and I edit everything. My editor charges by the word, and she does everything, and she does 2 rounds. I don't do 2 rounds. Like, you're going to have to pay me to do another round. I'm not that selfless. But she is, and she works so hard, and she catches so much stuff. She spent 2 months with me last summer just talking voice messages back and forth every day for 2 months just to discuss the big developmental edits I needed to change in my book. That's not including all of the edits that she did in the actual book. Developmental, copy editing, line editing, grammar, punctuation, you name it, she edited it. That was round 1, and she already just did round 2, which was another week of discussing things back and forth and making changes and adjusting things. She charges not 8 cents per word. It's 0.008. So whatever that is, pop it up here on the screen. For reference, mine would be about 0.005 per word. But she does more than I do, so she's worth it. And, okay, I got to get my thoughts back focused again. So most of us don't have that money lying around because we don't make that much money. As I said, I started editing it first to make money because my books weren't, and I needed to put money into them to sell them, but I needed to sell them to put money into them. You see the dilemma? So I had to add an extra stream of income to help with that, and I did. But as I got to doing it, I realized I always used to love judging, critiquing the writing, and the writing competitions, being part of it, and then guiding and mentoring writers. So I was like, why couldn't I do that as an editor? So as an editor, I just don't fix your mistakes. I leave comments and explain to you why it's this way and why it's that way. So that way you may not have to have an editor. Eventually you can learn and grow and get to a point where you can try to fix most of this on your own. I know a lot of authors who are self-editors. Bethany Adizada here on YouTube, she self-edits her books and uses critique partners to help her. So on the one hand, this is a stream of income for me. I don't like when people use programs like Grammarly, ProWritingAid, AutoCrit because it takes away jobs from actual people. But on the other hand, what if you can't afford it? How are you supposed to afford $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $20,000 for a book? How are you supposed to afford my services if you can't? What if you don't have $400 extra? I've encountered a lot of clients who didn't have that much money, and we had to split, only send me a certain number at a time. I've had a lot of people like that. So then what are you supposed to do? Well, you could use those programs, but my suggestion, because they will not catch everything, use those programs, self-edit. Best way to self-edit, if you're not an editor, read out loud, because when you read out loud, you will catch more mistakes because your mouth will stumble over anything that sounds off, usually, and there's a less chance that your eyes will skip over things. And so use those programs, go through and edit them, preferably with all 3. Don't just use one program. Put it in Grammarly, edit through that first, and put it in ProWritingAid, do that first, and then do AutoCrit, something like that. And then go through it again, reading it, every bit of it out loud to self-edit, and then send it to beta readers. Beta readers are readers who read your books for free and give you their feedback on what they thought. They're just vague opinions. They're not editors, so don't treat them like editors. It's not fair to ask them to edit your book when they're not being paid to edit your book, but they will give you a general sense for more developmental edits, because ProWritingAid, Grammarly, ProWritingAid, and AutoCrit will not edit developmental stuff. Sometimes they have quote-unquote programs for the pro versions that you can do, but for the pro version of ProWritingAid, it's like $200 for a year. Grammarly, I don't remember. AutoCrit, I don't remember. But for that price, you can hire an editor like me or Heather, honestly, so it's not worth it with an AI that doesn't quite understand the nuances like a human would. But either way, put it in those programs, do a read through yourself out loud, fix anything you catch, send it to beta readers. Their feedback will help you with a lot more of the developmental stuff, and anything that you missed grammatically or sentence structure that felt off. Usually if there's something big, they'll point it out, like typos. Some people are kind enough to do that. And then read it through one more time. And then here's another trick, proofread it. If you're editing on the computer like I do, it helps to get a different medium because your eyes get used to what you're used to. So if you're used to print books, switch to the computer. If you're used to the computer, order you a proof copy on Amazon. They should be, for an average book, there should be less than $5 plus shipping. So $10, $15 can get you proof copy. Read it, and proof copies have the line over it, so you won't want to sell it. Use it like that and use a pen. Mark down anything else that you see, and that should be pretty good for you for somebody who has no money to hire an editor. Now, if you do hire an editor, you still may want to send it to beta readers. It doesn't hurt, but hear me out. Even with these high-end editors, I and my husband have both caught many mistakes in professional books that are big-time books by famous authors who are famous, who have the highest of the high-end editors because they can afford it. Everybody misses something. I'm just going to tell you that right now. No editor is perfect because the human eye will sometimes skip over stuff. So there's going to be something that every editor will miss. So you're paying a lot of money for something that's still not going to be perfect. Not that that means you shouldn't spend the money, because I also want to preface this video by saying that editors are worth it. I thought I was really arrogant when I first started. Like, I wasn't like an arrogance toward my writing, but I was like, my books are great. They're fine. They don't need editors. I can't afford it anyway, so it's not that important. And I went for the longest time stubbornly refusing to hire an editor, and my books paid for it. And now, and not physically paid for it with money, obviously, but suffered for it is a better way of phrasing it. Until I found Heather, I was going to give up on Rogue. I'll have a link to a card here to the videos about that, but I started off just using beta readers because that's all I could afford at the time. And one was very, very harsh, but it hit me hard and I was ready to give up because it just, okay, this book sucks. Just screw it. And then I found Heather, and God bless me, and I don't even remember the details now, but I was able to hire her, and she changed my life, and she changed Rogue. And it literally would not be published today, and it would not be the book it is today without Heather. And Immortal was a big project, and I did hire one editor to go through it with me twice. I think we did 2 rounds for it and Mortal, Laura, so shout out to Laura, and she helped me. But I needed somebody like Heather. Heather is just a very unique and special person, and she is so worth the money. And even then, she's affordable, and I feel like she's still cheaper than the average editor that you'll find today. And yet, she's affordable and she's amazing. And so I needed Heather, so I paid her for Immortal. And now, because last year I had a lot more editing jobs, so I was bringing in more money. So yes, at $2 per page, to the person who said that I was privileged to make those prices, that I would never be able to survive and live off of it, I'm not paying my rent with it or eating food, although I have used it to pay food before, but it made me a decent income last year that provided me plenty of money I needed for my editing service. So it helped pay for my author stuff. But anyways, so even though I don't have the money to pay her to edit Survivor right this second, it's worth it to work extra hard and save back the money to get her, because my books will not be the same without her. She and I work well together, and she just clicked with me, and she's an amazing editor. So also, the whole concept that editors who are not cheap, yes, most of them are not cheap, but the stereotype that those of us who are cheap are crappy really aggravates me. Beyond aggravates me. I don't know how many times I saw comments. Literally one was along the lines of like, they told the commenter, you think that a book like that long is going to be worth $200? Anybody who charges less than, or who charges that, is obviously going to edit like garbage. Something to that effect. No, not all of us who are cheap and affordable are crappy and low quality. There's a huge stereotype that cheap means crappy. No. Anybody who shops at thrift stores or buys groceries in bulk at like different places or shops at Walmart knows that sometimes you just need to have things that are affordable. That doesn't make it bad if it's cheap. Now, there are a lot of cheap products that are bad, but not every editor who charges low, or every service, like cover designers. Yes, there are a lot of us, editors and cover designers, like on sites like Fiverr, who charge cheaply, and that makes them crappy. and they do crappy service because you, quote, get what you pay for. But not every editor who is affordable is bad at their job. Some of us are passionate and want the extra income that comes from it. Some of us understand what it's like to want for money, and want to give back and want to help out people, even if we can't afford it, even if we're going through our own financial struggles, even if I charged more and it would help out us paying the numerous bills that we have. I want to be affordable, but I am good at what I do, and that is editing. I was a writing competition judge and host for 4 years. I've been editing now for several more. I don't even remember the years when, but I've been editing for a while. I know a lot about editing. I'm really especially good at dialogue. I really clean up people's dialogue and the action tags and all that stuff. I'm really good at action sequences. That is one of my strengths as a writer. I'm a pro at writing action sequences. I don't know, mostly because of my husband. It's taught me a lot over the years, but I'm really good at sentence structure with other people and grammar, vocabulary usage, like all of that stuff. I'm cheap because I want to be affordable to people who can't afford it. It's called being nice and being a decent human being. And yeah, if you're not in a place where you can afford to be cheap, then that's fine. But not all of us who are cheap are crappy at what we do. Heather is affordable, but she is so high quality that she deserves more than what she's asking for. I deserve a little bit more than what I'm asking for as well. I'm not going to do it because I want to be affordable. Even at my prices, I've had people come to me saying that they can't afford it. Maybe they're lying, maybe they're not. I trust them, so I don't think they are. I want to be affordable for people. I've had one person who actually is trying to save back for a vacation, and she values that right now over editing, which is fine. Sometimes it's not that you don't have the money. Sometimes it's the money has to go to something else that's either more important or more valuable to you, and that is fine. I have valued other things over hiring an editor in the past. Right now, I'm valuing hiring Heather to edit Survivor over hiring my designer to redesign my Republic Chronicles covers. That's going to have to wait. Priorities. So sometimes editing is not the priority. I had one client who is a returning client, and she just can't afford to hire an editor right now, and she just deserves a vacation. She's worked really hard and long, and is working to put that toward a vacation instead of editing. Even at my prices, she can't afford my prices. I've had a lot of people like that. You would be surprised how people cannot afford a couple $100, much less a couple $1,000 for an editor. Now, I am not saying that editors don't deserve to get paid for their work. In an ideal world, everybody would get paid for their work. But here's the thing, do authors? Like, not high-end authors, just the average, everyday, average Joe who is an author. What about us? A lot of the comments was like, well, you're disregarding the hard work that editors put into there. They do months of hard work. Yes, we do a lot of hard work. Nobody works harder than my editor, Heather. I'm just going to say that right now. Like, I don't know any editor who has voice talked with their author back and forth for 2 months just to go over the details of the story. Name one. Heather, basically. So, yes, editors work hard. I am not denying that. But what about authors? We pour months, if not years, into our books. And what do we get paid for it? We don't charge thousands of dollars for one book. We worked the same amount as an editor because the editor's editing was already there. We had to come up with it out of nowhere. We wrote those words. So should we be charging $2,000 per book to read it? No, we sell it. Would you pay $5 for a book? Or when you look at a book on Amazon and you see, oh, the ebook is $5, that's expensive. Let me go get a coffee that's that amount or a little less. And generally speaking, when you look at a book on Amazon, an ebook, even I do this, I expect them to be 99 cents. And if they're not, I'm not going to buy it because I can't afford it or I don't want to afford it. So if it's $5, if it's $7, if it's $10, you're like, whoa, that's expensive for an ebook. But the author put in months and months and months and months and months, if not years, of writing into that book. So shouldn't they be charging that much too? I mean, it's the same amount of, it's like different types of work, but it's still equal in its difficulty. You see what I'm saying? Like, and one could argue that editing or writing is harder than the other. Just like we could throw in cover designing, like that's just as hard. They may work for months, they may work for less than months, but they're no less, they work equal to an author and an editor in terms of what they do. So I urge everyone watching this, whether you can afford an editor or not, or whether you're even just a reader, just an outside observer to this, be respectful. Know that some editors charge high, but some also charge low. And for those of us who do, it doesn't mean that we suck or aren't good at our jobs. You can pay less for still the same quality, if not better, because high-end editors, I guarantee you, most of them are only doing one type of editing, whereas people like me and Heather and my friend Laura, my other editor friend Laura, and other editors that I know and worked with are doing all types at once, because it's just, for me personally, I can't shut my brain off. So if I see something, I'm going to point it out to you, regardless of what category of editing it goes into. I don't care. I don't pay attention to all that stuff. I just edit the book. I don't know the reasoning behind my other two people, but that's my personal experience and opinion. However, again, just because an editor is charging a low-end amount doesn't mean we suck. You should check and make sure. Most editors are willing to do a sample edit, so you need to do a sample edit to make sure the editor knows what they're doing. That, obviously, I understand, especially double checking us because we are cheaper. You do want to make sure that you check. Every editor, make sure that they check, because even if they're good, they may not work well together with you. You may not like their editing style. You still need to work together well with the person, so a sample edit is always a good choice. But some editor, not every editor who charges high is doing it just for the income. Some of them just like the money because it's good money. Some of them need that income. Authors, not all of us can afford to throw thousands of dollars at an editor or thousands of dollars at a cover designer, especially when we do one. Sometimes we have to sacrifice one. If we only have X amount of money, okay, are we going to do that for the cover or the editing? So one has got to go. I can't afford the other one. You see what I'm saying? So not every author, most authors don't make that kind of money. So we got to work with something. And if you don't have that kind of money, do not let these people intimidate you and make you feel crappy about yourself. Oh, you're not paying them what they're worth. No, I just don't have the money. So yes, if you have to, use the AI programs, but again, they're not perfect. Edit it yourself, read it out loud, hire some, work with some beta readers. Maybe find a critique partner. You could also do an exchange. So if you're good at, cover designing, maybe you can design a person's cover and they'll edit your book. Or if you're pretty decent at editing everybody else's book but your own, then do an editing exchange. Edit their book in exchange for you editing theirs. Or if you're not good at editing, but you're just a reader who likes to read, then agree to do that with a friend. Like, say they want an author friend. You read their book, they read yours, and you guys give each other feedback. Like, it would be vague, but it'd be better than nothing. Try it out. As it is now, I can't afford the $10,000 it would take me to pay all of my audiobook narrators. They deserve to be paid for their work, but I have to do royalty share with them because I can't afford to pay $10,000 to not to each of them, but to them to buy the rights. So they own part of the rights. ACX owns part of it, and I get like less than 20% or something. It's ridiculous. Like, it's not that much money when you sell an audiobook for whatever. So we all have to, that's where I've had to compromise. So, and I found a cover designer that is really cheap for what he does, and he is amazing. So shout out to Renz, because Renz has redesigned the Valiant series covers and the Calamity's Hope series, and he is a lifesaver. So I had to go cheaper on that one. But again, just because he's cheap, he is high quality. Look at these covers. Just because we're cheap doesn't mean we suck. Doesn't mean it's less quality. Sometimes it can be. So that's why you check. That's why you work with a person. That's why you talk and communicate. So all of this to say, please be respectful. Please understand that not all high editors are just doing it because they have to. Some of them, they're just in it for the money. And just because we're cheap doesn't mean we suck. And not all authors can afford to throw money out at a good editor. If you can, great. I'm wonderful. I'm proud. I'm happy for you. That's wonderful. We can't. We have to figure things out for ourselves. So just be respectful. And for everybody out there, authors, editors, my friends, people, what are your opinions and thoughts on this topic? I hope I didn't hurt anybody's feelings or anything, but this is a hot topic and I'm super passionate. And for the love of everything, let's just not use the word privilege, because if you live in America, you're automatically more privileged than pretty much most of the rest of the world, especially for third world countries. So let's just forget that word, please. So if you guys liked this video, or if you didn't, please give it a like and subscribe for more writing and reading videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And in the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, I was going to send you to a controversial video, but you might want something a little bit more relaxing and happy and non-controversial and less ranty. So check out my video as I found the best and most wonderful spots to write on a cruise ship. Check it out. It's amazing and super fun, and I went all the way around the ship and just wrote in every possible place that I could, so check that out. It's a really fun video and super lighthearted, so it'll kind of help you calm down after this ranty, controversial one. So check it out. You do not want to miss it.